this is another ASMR video. So in this video we are going to be continuing our reading. We are going to be making our way to a town called Valentine. We've got a waypoint there and we're going to be heading to the gunsmith specifically, but we're going to be enjoying some reading while we travel there. This is going to be the last part of chapter 1, so I'm going to get my book and take the front cover off. Okay, so we're going to continue reading from where we ended last video. So if you're not sure where we're up to, then it might be best to watch the last video first, but up to you. So let me find where we're up to. Okay, let's begin. Will walked back to it and held out his hand, watching as the bear pushed its nose forward now, smelling his skin, then pushing at his hand until Will raised it ever so and began to scratch away at the side of the bear's face like they had done this intimate appraisal of each other 1,000 times before. When he woke the next day, Will fed the bear cub, and then, as was his custom, he set out with his snares and pack, carrying his rifle, while his hat shaded his eyes against the rising sun. He walked down the rise and out along the field, the cub following, loping behind, often pausing to bite at the tender tips of grass. When Will passed on into the belt of the trees that lined the stream beyond, the bear came crashing after him. The two of them now came to the edge of the stream to drink and to dip paws and hands within the moving water. Many of the snares had been slipped, and Will went on, one by one, looking at each other and then resetting them. Twice in the place he had set a snare, there was only the blood and hair of a rabbit left to find. The bear cub, sniffing at the ground, running its nose toward the higher field. Coyote is my guess, Will said, his eyes as he searched for clues as to where he might find this snare, then moving in concentric circles. He widened his search until he found the place the rabbit had been carried and then eaten. There remains no more than a collection of bones and tufts of hair, but the wire snare not far off. By the time he had circled and reset his snares, it was mid-afternoon, and he walked back across the dune grass field with the bear trailing, running and pausing, just as it had before. While he came to the rise that led toward his cabin, the bear cub was still at play there in the field. The sun out ahead of him as Will walked, his shadow behind, stretching away from him down toward the field like his own dark reflection. was far overhead, and he looked up, but all he could see was the dune grass and the tops of the pines further on. He heard the clack of the boats, and then the dissonant sound of laughter and the talk of men. He came up on one elbow, turning to look back down into the field where the bear cub had paused, sniffing the air, then standing on hind legs, looking his way. The rifle sounded again, and Will heard the cuts of bullets as it tore through the air, and then he saw the puff of the dirt appear on the ground just to the side of the bear. He heard the man curse, then he heard the clack of the bolt again, and Will looked to the bear, who now was smelling the place the bullet had struck, as if this were some new game Will had set up for him to play. Will turned over again. He could not see the men up on the hill, but he could hear them, and he knew almost without any doubt that they were firing on the bear, and they were trying to kill it. Will looked one last time to his cabin. But the sun had grown lower, and the rays that flooded down were blinding. He sat now, knowing in some way he was not the target, and he took the rifle from his shoulder and pushed forward to safety, then raised the scope to his eyes. The first shot he took sprayed rock and dirt up over the snout of the bear, and the bear, as if knowing Will had betrayed him, now turned to regard Will where he sat on the lowermost part of the hill. Will ejected the casing, then loaded another. There were men talking now as they came down the hill. Laughing and calling to each other, and now calling to Will. But Will did not hear them, and he raised the rifle again, set the sight on the bear, putting crosshairs right over the ear before pulling the trigger. The bullets, as far as he could tell, buzzed right by the ear and set the bear to running. Just as the bear came to the far belt of the trees at the other edge of the meadow, it paused and looked back. Will watched it through the scope. He watched the bear taste the air. He watched the eyes roam and settle on Will, and then the men that now approached from up on the hill. When the next rifle hunting rifle held close in his lap. You're a man who likes to play at dangerous games, John said as he came up. I remember how you used to drink. I remember the state you were in when you came and asked us to help you. Are you still that man, Will? No. That's good to hear, Will. That's very good to hear. It looked for moments there like you might have forgotten. How did it look? Like maybe you were trying to make friends with the set of fangs that might kill you one day. Will ran his eyes from John over to Lonnie. When he looked back at John, he asked if they had found the bear in the pits. That's why we came here, John said. Lonnie suggested it. He said you can track just about anything. That true? Will moved his eyes to Lonnie again. Since you all set me up at this place, I've hunted nearly everything that walks or crawls on four legs. What is it you're looking for here? We got us a bit of a situation and we'd like you to solve it. You think you could find someone for us? Someone? A girl has gone missing. I'm not any kind of detective, if that's what you're asking. I'm not asking you to be. I'm asking, can you track her through these woods and bring her back in for us? You're asking me to hunt down a human being. John smiled. I'm not really asking. Okay, so that is chapter 1 now completed. So we have had about 4 or 5 videos on chapter 1. It was this book, the chapters are long, and I'm not the fastest reader. But I hope you all enjoyed this anyway. We're going to be continuing chapter 2 in a couple of weeks. Well, starting on chapter 2. But I hope you all enjoyed. Happy New Year to all. Until next time, take it easy.